Well, I'm working on my PittBoss grill because the last time my wife tried to use it, it didn't light. Or if it did light, it didn't stay lit very long. So the other day, I took all the pellets out of it. Now, there's a couple ways to do that. There's a chute on the back here. You undo this bolt. Back this camera out a little bit. Back this bolt out. There's a little plate that slides in there, and then the pellets are supposed to just slide out of here, but they put this too close to this leg, so if you put a 5-gallon bucket down here, half of them fall on the ground. So what I did is I put a 5-gallon bucket down here, then I put a piece of metal up into here to not take the pellets back into the bucket. So you can do that. Another way you can do it, if you have a shop vac, is I have this little vac and I just suck the pellets out of it. Now I do have a bigger shop vac, I just didn't go get it, but you could just suck the pellets out of there. You know, first clean out your shop vac, and then you can just dump the pellets like I did into a 5-gallon bucket to save them for later. So once you get that cleaned out, there's a grate on the bottom of here, a pan. I don't remember because I took it off a year or two ago. For some reason, I was having problems. And it has, I think, 8 bolts in it. I never did put mine back on because I had no reason to. I didn't think. Now, in order to get this part off, there's a couple things you can do. What I did last time was I took the 4 bolts off on the side, 1, 2 in the back, and then this tilts away. But when you do that, all these wiring harnesses are connected. Then I watched another video, and what I did, I guess, is I unplugged every one of these wiring harnesses, and then when I went to hook them up, I hadn't taken a picture, so I tried to go yellow to yellow, red to red, black to black, but I did something wrong and it wouldn't work because this one's purple and white, and this one back here, I guess it is black and white. So anyway, it took me 2 tries to get it to work again, but I should have taken a picture. Now I watched another video, and the guy took a couple screws out of this temperature gauge or the controls and just slid it through the box, and then this would come loose or come out of the way. I tried to do that with this one. Guess what? There's no screws. So I went inside here. Let me get my flashlight. Then you can probably see better. Flashlight on. If you can see them, they're kind of hidden now because it's partially out, but there's 3 clips. You have to just push up on them toward the control panel to release them. But that didn't release them. I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but they ran a bead of sealant about 2-3 inches on each section here and a section there, some kind of rubberized sealant, silicone I suppose. So I took my pocket knife and I cut that away, and now the control panel is coming away from there. Now my goal is, if I can, get that to come out of there, but it's probably got sealant on the top of it too that I can't get to. But I'm going to try to get that out of there, and then I'm hoping I can slide the control panel inside of there, and then this will come away a little bit better. It's not going to come away completely because you got your power cord going into here. Now what I did last time is this goes in there by friction. It kind of snaps into place. I took needle nose pliers and squeezed the sides of it because it's a rounded rectangle. Let's put it that way. It's not square, it's not round. I squeezed the sides of it and I got this to pop out, and then this thing goes in 2 pieces. It clamps over the wire. There's a little piece right here that slides into that, and then you snap it into this metal box, and that's how you get this cord loose, and that's how you can get more leadway to get this completely out of the way. So let me go grab some needle nose pliers. I'll get this off of here. I've already taken these 4 bolts out. I should be able to just take this out of the way and get access to the auger. So I'll be right back. Well, I got that little piece out of there, and it does come apart. It's in 2 pieces. Come on, there. So you clamp this over your wire, and then that snaps onto that, and then you just have to force it. You see the, well, you just have to force it into that hole. I'll show you the hole real quick. Like I said, it's not square, it's not round, it's a rounded square. So you can only put it in one way. But once you get that done, you got a lot of room with your cord, so you can get this box off of here. Once I get that panel pushed, control panel pushed into here, this box won't be connected except for this, and I can get it out of the way. What I did is I tilted the box back this way, and I reached on the inside, and this is the top of the control panel. There's 3 tabs, 1, 2, 3. You just push them in with a screwdriver or your fingernail. Once you get the bottom loose, there is no sealant on there, so it just popped right out. Because the way I did it before, with this hooked, it doesn't give you, when this is in this box, it doesn't give you much room to work. That's why I just disconnected these wires, which I didn't have to do, but they're not that hard. There's no clip on them. You just pull them off. They're held on with friction. And then there's this little one here that goes to the temperature gauge, or the thermostat. Not thermostat, thermometer. So I know the motor works. I took it off and I jump started it, and it spins. But the problem is, it'll just spin for a very short amount of time and it stops. Now, one guy figured out a way to brace his motor up here, because you see it's supported by this bracket, and in this case this bracket is bending, probably from it getting in a bind and the torque, and he ended up putting something underneath here to support it, and he put a strap around it to keep it from wiggling. Now right now it's in quite a bind. Now I don't know if it's got a pellet stuck in the between the auger and the tube, or what's going on. Now there's also, when you go to take this off, there's a small set bolt, little bolt with like a 1/4 inch or 5/16 nut, and this one is an Allen on this side. Can't tell you what size it is, I forgot. You get that off, you can get the motor off, and then there is a little Phillips screw right there, and that holds the auger in. And there's a little plastic spacer, I guess, right in here in this, that keeps the auger centered. But that's the only thing that supports it. And this part back here, you know, it lets it, see how it wiggles? It's just not a very good design. It should have had some kind of bracket that went all the way around it to keep it in place. But it manages to get into a bind, and then it won't turn. And I'm going to see now if, what I'm going to do is take this apart, and then I'm just going to see if the motor will continue to turn once I plug it in. Because according to one guy, if there's a bad place in your motor, it'll turn part way, and then when it hits the bad place in the motor, it'll stop. I know in the past I had pellets for some reason. I don't know if they were too long or too hard, but they would jam up the auger. That's why I took it apart the first time, now that I think about it. In fact, those pellets are still sitting in this 5-gallon bucket because they just would not run through the auger. I think they were too long, too hard, and it would get stuck in the blade and lock it up. Stuck in the blade, yeah. Maybe that's what's happening again, I'm not sure. But I'm going to take this all apart. Now one guy, what did he say he did? I'm trying to remember. I think he blew air in here and blew all the pellets out into the auger bin on the inside. But once I get the motor off of here, I was able to turn this and work the auger out of there. So let me get the set screw out and get the motor off, and I can plug it in, just see if the motor turns by itself. And then I'm going to pull the auger blade out. I'm going to hook it back up, and I'm going to see if I put a little bit of resistance on it, if that stops the motor. Now, I saw online that they have a new and improved auger motor, so maybe it's stronger and it doesn't bind up so easy. But let me get this off of here. So according to my tools, the nut on there is a 5/16 and the Allen is a 7/64. So maybe that'll help you out. Now I got those off of there. Well, I got the nut off. Now I need to wiggle this around and get that pin out of there. At least that'll get the motor out of the way. There's what that pin looks like right there. Just threaded on the end. I used the needle nose pliers. I wiggled the motor, pulled it out of there. So now the motor comes off. Oh yeah, there's a rubber gasket there, but mine was kind of split, so I never got it back where it belonged. And this wire, as you can see, is tied in a knot there. But what you can do, if you want to, is just pull this connection apart, undo the knot, and you can pull that motor out of there. Because I have a feeling I'm going to have to upgrade my motor. But see how crooked that plate is? I don't know, does this show it? How much lower it is? Like a 1/4 inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch lower here. So it's been tweaked from that motor getting in a bind. Now maybe I can take a hammer, pound it up a little bit, or some pliers. Maybe that'll help, or stick a wedge under it. Not sure. First of all, I'm going to find out if the motor works by itself. Let's do that first. I have an extension cord going to my barbecue grill. Plugs in on the other side of the door over there. And I got it up over the door frame and over to here. That's as far as it goes. So I just took a little trash can, put it on the ground, put the hopper on there. I've got it plugged in, and I need to get the motor someplace where it won't be, maybe there. That way the fan won't hit anything. Okay, I'm going to turn this on and see if it'll just spin freely by itself. Now, if you have one of these, you know, sometimes you can just turn the temperature gauge and it'll come on. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes you have to hit the power button, which is this one. Now, let's watch that auger for a moment. Or, sorry, the motor. Oh, it's spinning pretty good. Spinning like it's supposed to. Now the question is, let's put some friction against it, see if it still turns. Yep. Look around and break my blade off. So what I think is happening, it's not the motor. I think the auger is getting in a bind. So I'm going to pull the auger out of there. Now last time, maybe I'll try to include some clips of that, or show you now anyway. I took the auger out and it was really crusty. It had like burnt grease on it, it seemed like. I don't know if I had some stuff that burned back into it, or if it's just from the smoke, the residue. But it was pretty rough, and I figured that's probably keeping the auger from turning. So I took it out to my grinder, the wire wheel, and I cleaned it all up. Let me pull that out of there and I'll show you that. So here's that plastic bushing I was talking about. It allows the auger, because it just spins freely, it allows the auger to spin, but it stabilizes it. And you can look at the outside here where I cleaned it. Before, That doesn't even really do it justice, but it was black and had a lot of junk on it. So what I'm wondering now is one or two things. Either the chute itself needs cleaned out, and I'm not quite sure how to do that. I was thinking about a wire wheel that's the right size, and then get like a 1 foot extension for a drill bit, and then you can run it in and out of there and clean it up. But if it's the pellets that are getting jammed and the motor just doesn't have enough power, then that's not going to help me. So let me get the flashlight. Let's see if we can see anything down there. I would think that you guys can kind of see what I'm seeing. It doesn't look that bad, so I really don't see why the auger is not turning, why it's getting jammed up. Only thing I can think is that the motor just doesn't have enough power to grind through the pellets. Because they are kind of hard. If you have a pellet grill, you know. Let's get me one of those things out of there. I mean, I can't even, that's a little piece. I can't break it with my finger. That's quite a bit of pressure. Let's get a longer one out of here. Because this is what I think's happening. You see how long it is? It's 2 inches long, 1.5 inches at least. And I think they get in there between the auger blade. As it starts turning, they get in here like this, and then it just jams up the blade, and it doesn't have enough power, the auger. Now see, that one broke in half, but that one broke in half. So that's kind of my theory at the moment, is the motor doesn't have enough power to break those pellets, and so it's jamming up, putting a lot of torque on it, and that's why, get it on the right, you can see how much it's bent right there. That's just from the auger motor. I'm going to straighten that out. I don't want to put this all back together and do this again. This is already the second time. What I think I'm going to do, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Well, maybe I'll put it back together and see if the auger will turn freely without any pellets in it, and if it'll keep doing it for a while. If it will, then I'm going to blame the pellets for jamming up the auger, and maybe I'll just order a new motor. They're like $14, $24 on Amazon. It'll be a cheap fix if it works, and if not, I'll have to figure something else out. But let me put this back together and see if it'll just spin on its own. So in order to put that back together, I hung on to this part right here, the little nub sticking out, and I made sure the hole was lined up with this, and then I just dropped it into place, put the screw in, and now I'm going to have to put a little back pressure this way to get that hole up so I can get the motor back on. But if you get it up there like that, you can stick the pin in, and I can probably do this without putting the nut back on, because that's not going to do anything substantial at the moment. So there goes the auger down to the bottom, but I can just push it back up easy. You can just reach down in here and you can move it up and down and get a grip on it. So let me get that pin back in the motor. I ended up setting the barbecue grill down flat because the auger's wanting to fall down inside there, and I couldn't hold the motor and the auger and put the pin in. But if it's flat like this, it's easy to line it up. But now, look at all this slack in here. Tell me that's a good design. So this is where a person needs some kind of spacer under here to take up that gap, because that's just not going to work. I mean, it's going to rotate around and it's just going to get jammed up. It needs to be straight like this so it can provide the maximum torque and not get in the bind. So I'm going to find something to put on there for a spacer. And, sorry, did you see all that slack in there? That's just a poor design. This plate should have been up there higher, and it should have a bracket that goes around the motor to hold it stable so it doesn't twist around like that. Hang on a second. Well, I just happen to have this long screwdriver sitting here, and it seems to be perfect. I haven't straightened this lip up yet, but at least now there's no wiggle in it. Let me plug it. Let's see. Well, let's just turn her back on and see what it does. So the auger's turning. I think what I'm going to do is just drop a bunch of pellets in here and see if it jams it up. So give me just a second. Okay, what I did was I vacuumed the pellets that fell down into the burn pot because I'm hoping it won't light, because I don't want it on fire right at the moment. It's getting hot. I've got her on and she's working, so I'm kind of wondering. Now I can see how that's moving around and the screwdriver's wanting to fall out of there. I need to make some kind of, there it goes. I need to put a strap on it or something to keep it from twisting around like that. Yep, there she goes. Oh, now we get to see it in action, huh? We shouldn't be doing that kind of crap. Alright. I need to build a bracket to hold that motor where it belongs. I should have noticed this the first time I took it apart, but see all that wear right there? I mean, it's actually wearing into the metal. It's got a groove there from it twisting around so much. So I'm going to straighten that as best I can. And then I'm going to figure out some way to get some kind of a clamp around that thing. What I'm thinking about is some kind of metal strapping and a couple of self-tapping screws that go into this metal plate to hold it in place really tight. And I'll have to have a spacer of some kind on the bottom so it won't fall out. So I'm going to work on that a little bit, see what I can figure out. Now I went ahead and unplugged this motor. And like I said, there's no tabs or anything you have to squeeze. It just pulls apart by friction. And then I undid the knot that was here. I got the motor out of the way. But I think that might fix the problem. Just getting that motor so it doesn't turn around in circles or try to. I watched one video where the guys, he had a fire in his auger and it completely melted this piece of plastic. It was laying down here and he thought that was some kind of spacer that they had for the motor. He didn't know it was supposed to be round and in here to support the auger. People let him know in the comments, of course. But I'm going to straighten this piece of metal up here, see what I can devise to hold that in place, and I'll be back. Well, here's what I came up with. Get the motor out of the way. I found a couple bolts. They're about 3/8, I'm guessing, and they're about 1 inch long. I drilled 2 holes. The motor sits right on top of those. I'm going to put nuts on the bottom of these so they can't go anywhere. And then I may have to go to Home Depot or Ace, get some of that metal strapping. They use it on like water heaters, things like that. I don't want to use plastic because of the heat. I don't want it to break. Something I can put a couple self-tapping screws in and really make that motor solid. So let me get these bolts on there, and then I think I'm going to have to make a road trip. So I'll splice this video together, and I might even include the one that I did before where I took it all apart trying to figure out what was wrong with it. But I don't know. Now that I know the right way to take the grill apart, I might not waste your time. Well, I think I'm going to have to get a different motor. I didn't even go get the strap. I just thought, well, I'll put it together and see what it does. And when I turn it on, that's the blower motor running there. But when I turn the auger on, it's not even turning. So evidently, why, I don't know. Has it got a strip gear? Possibly. There's probably some kind of gear inside of there, and it's probably stripped out from getting in a bind. I'm going to take that motor apart and see what I see. So to get this cover plate off, there's 4 screws. I'm going to take those out. Well, I discovered the problem. If you can look at that bottom gear, see how the teeth are missing or broken off, chip. There may be more in there. I can't see them because of lubrication, but I'm sure it's gotten in a bind because of the pellets, and then the auger motor has twisted and then it snapped off those teeth. Now there's a chance I could rebuild this, but as cheap as they are, I just have to replace that gear right there. But as cheap as they are, I'm just going to hop online, because who knows what other gears have been damaged or worn or broken. I'm just going to get a new motor. So I guess we know the problem. Maybe the first thing, if you're having trouble with your motor, is just take that cover plate off of it and check for broken gears and get yourself a new motor. I'm going to go ahead and order mine, and I'll do a follow-up video of this with the new motor. Hopefully that will fix the problem. I'm sure cleaning the auger like I did with the wire wheel helped. You could use sandpaper. Get that junk off so it's not rough. But this is the culprit right there. Broken teeth. That's just not going to make it work good. There's a similar problem. What was it? A Corvette I had. The headlights wouldn't go up and down, and they had plastic gears in there. And they would break or get worn, whatever, and the headlights wouldn't go up and down. You gotta love cheap crap, right? This should have been made out of something that wouldn't snap off like that. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this helps you. Trying to think of anything else. I'm just going to go to Amazon. I think I did that the other day just to see. And I think they're $14 or $24. I'll have it here in a few days. Maybe less than a week at least. Get my barbecue grill back to running. And I'll do a follow-up video once I put it all back together. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Hope I helped somebody.